But with respect to the bank documents, it appears that what former Senator Sonny Trillanes presented were obtained prior to the impeachment proceedings. So, parang andun ba yun sa exception? And meron bang, did anyone from the House Justice Committee bother to ask how the bank documents were obtained, whether they were obtained legally?
Naku, yari ho sila dyan. Yang mga tanong na yan ho yung mga iniwasan nung hearing dyan sa Injustice Committee. Yang pagtatanong kay Trilling kung saan galing yung mga dokumentong ipiresinta niya dito sa dyan sa Injustice Committee.
Okay, now three things. First,
May mga nagsasabi rin kasi na pagkakataon naman to ni Vice President Sara na sagutin yung mga allegations against her through the proceedings here in the House Justice Committee. Do you think she would have been given an opportunity to be heard? Kasi meron parang, ang sentiment naman ng iba, parang most of the members of the House Justice Committee are against Vice President Sara. So would it have been a fair platform?
it depends on I think, the legal strategy of the Vice President. Feeling ko, yung team niya felt that, they would not be able to get a fair hearing doon sa or a chance to really question yung mga evidences being presented against them. Because kahit mag-appear siya doon, she cannot cross-examine.
Yun ang limitation. Hindi siya pwede mag-cross-examine ng witnesses.
Nako, mamaya na ho natin babaran yung video na yan, itong si Atty. Vic Rodriguez. Pasadaan ho muna natin ang interview nitong si Congressman Bong Suntay dito kay Atty. Karen Jimeno dyan sa At the Forefront sa Billionaire News Channel. Eto na ho, interview ho nitong si Congressman Bong Suntay. Pinag-usapan ho nila dito yung pagsasampa ng kaso ng asawa nitong si Vice President Sara Duterte sa BSP, dito sa AMLA at sa mga taga-House of Representatives diyan sa Injustice Committee. Panoorin ho natin ang mga kabayan.
Council and several lawmakers for allegedly violating the bank secrecy.
Fighting it your show.
And thank you for being here this morning.
Yeah.
We'll start with Vice President Sara Duterte's husband, Mans.
Di ba, kung Congressman Bong Suntay, sinasabi ko sa iyo, di ba, ikaw lang ayaw maniwala, lilipas din yan. Lahat ng pambibira sa iyo doon sa mga naging statement mo kay Ann Cortez, makakalimutan din ng tao yan. merong mas mainit na issue ang lalabas kaysa doon sa mga sinabi mo na yun. Di ba? Kasi parang nakita ko kasi itong si Congressman Suntay nung mga nakalipas na linggo, nung lumabas yung mga banat na yun sa kanya ng mga dilawan at pinklawan, parang nalungkot siya eh. Pero may mga panahon na to, okay na ho ulit yung si Congressman Bong
Scarpio filing a criminal complaint against the BSP, Anti-Money Laundering Council, and several lawmakers for allegedly violating the bank secrecy law and data privacy law. What's your take on this?
Well, I think it's natural for him to go to that recourse. Attorney Mans is also a lawyer, and there are protections for financial transactions covered by RA 1405, 9160, which regulates certain disclosures. And siguro para sa kanya, his rights were on bank secrecy was violated dahil unang-una, hindi naman siya, he's not a public official, he's a private official. And hinalo yung transactions niya with that of the Vice President. I would understand kung it was limited to transactions which kung saan they shared a joint account. But for individual accounts, I think that's a reason why they sought legal redress.
So legally, merong pinanggagalingan yung complaint niya because
Para
he's
sa
not a
akin.
public official, and yet even his individual transactions were included during the impeachment proceeding.
Yes, para sa akin. But of course, there are exceptions provided under the law, di ba? If there's a court order, if there's a waiver, if
There's, consent.
Yeah.
And that's, speaking of exceptions, that's what the chairperson of the House Justice Committee, Gervais Luistro, said. That she said this is an exception to the bank secrecy laws. And he said in
And
Section 2
impeachment
of
cases now.
Republic Act 1405, it says upon written permission of the depositor, and it mentions here in cases of impeachment. So that is an exception, but with respect to the bank documents, it appears that what former Senator Sonny Trillanes presented were obtained prior to the impeachment proceedings. So parang andun ba yun sa exception? And meron bang, did anyone from the House Justice Committee bother to ask how the bank documents were obtained, whether
Yun.
they were obtained legally?
Naku, yari ho sila dyan. Yang mga tanong na yan ho yung mga iniwasan nung hearing dyan sa Injustice Committee. Yang pagtatanong kay Trilling kung saan galing yung mga dokumentong ipiresinta niya dito sa dyan sa Injustice Committee.
Okay, now three things. First, there was no consent, obviously, on the part of Attorney Manscarpio. Second, yung impeachment proceeding, tama yun, may exemption, but we have to qualify Because yung exemption na yun is if there is an impeachment proceeding already filed. Now, kailangan natin i-qualify yung hearings ba sa Justice Committee. Is it considered na? Kasi preliminaries pa lang yan That's where you find if the complaint is sufficient in form or substance. Ang talagang trial nangyayari when it is elevated, when the articles of impeachment is elevated to the Senate, and the Senate convenes as an impeachment court. So I think there are two schools of thought yan kasi kung lahat ng kung yung sa proceeding pa lang, yung preliminaries pa lang sa House Justice Committee, i-consider mo na as a form of yung exception, then paano, di ba, may mga nagfa-file ng complaints sa Just House this na committee na minsan just to prevent any impeachment proceedings from prospering. Di ibig ba sabihin yan, as long as you file a complaint sa sa House Justice Committee, exempted na yung from bank secrecy, pwede nang kunin lahat ng records. So I think it has to be
Hindi, kung tayo naman tatanungin dito sa PH kung gusto nilang gawin yan dito sa mga panahon na to, okay, wala problema. Nasa kanilang ambit Hawak nga ni Jardel Ruiz Trombit Pero pagka ginawa natin sa kanila, sa susunod na administrasyon, yung ginagawa nila na yan, siyempre, yung si Boying Remulla, impeachable government official yan. Pag may naghain ng impeachment sa kanya, okay nang buksan pala natin. Lahat ng na-plug na transaction ng AMLA sa kanya. Lahat ng bank transaction niya, okay lang nabuksan na. Pagka titignan kung tawag dito yung kung may probable cause, magmi-mini trial sila doon sa mga panahon na yun, okay lang yun. Pambihira naman.
Qualified and that has to be cleared. Now, thirdly, yung like what you said, alam ko as early as 2016 yun na yung documents that was being presented by former Senator Trillanes when he was questioning the counts of former President Duterte, and that was obtained prior to the hearings being the impeachment
Even prior to the impeachment complaint,
being filed. That's
Yeah.
true. I don't think anyone was able to question it because pagka i-question mo yung source ng mga transactions, si Chair would always say that it's not covered.
Is it not covered by a clarificatory question? I know that for the House Justice Committee hearings, determining probable cause, limited lang dapat sa clarificatory questions. But isn't that a clarificatory question?
It should.
Where did this document come from? Because under Philippine law, we have a doctrine on the fruit of the poisonous tree, where if you have illegally obtained evidence, it becomes inadmissible in any proceeding. So, hindi ba yun pwedeng erase as a concern when we're trying to trace saan galing itong bank documents in the...
Ang problema ko kasi dito mga kababayan, hindi naman importante dito kay Jinky Luis Rosa kung kanino pa man kasama niya dyan sa Injustice Committee kung saan galing yung mga dokumento. Ang importante lang ho dyan, masiraan nila si BP Sara at itong si Atty. Manscarpio. Yun lang ho talaga importante sa kanila. Diba? Hindi natatanong saan galing yung mga dokumento, legal bang pagkakakuha ng mga dokumento na yun. Wala akong ganun. Ang pinag-uusapan lang dyan, masisiraan ba si VP Sara dyan sa mga dokumento na yan? Maliban ho doon, wala na.
The first place.
Actually, pwedeng erase yun, pwedeng erase. In fact, when AMLAC was presenting the data that they had, I questioned it But I cautioned them from revealing those things. Ang sabi ni Chair, hindi ano yan, hindi bank transactions ang nire-reveal at hindi naman natin kinuha yan from the banks and bank personnel, kinuha natin yan sa AMLA.
Yun ang hindi klaro siguro sa publiko,
Yeah.
no? When is it a violation of the bank secrecy law? And when is it just, a revelation of AMLA records?
Yeah, but we have to understand that the records that AMLA has are derived from bank transactions and financial transactions, both na nanggagaling sa bangko. So those are still bank records, which
Correct.
for me is protected under the bank secrecy
Correct.
law. Unless waive, unless there's a court order that allows that orders yung disclosure or
Ang tanong, korte ho ba ang Injustice Committee? Hindi. Impeachment court ba ang Justice Committee? Hindi. Ngayon, anong karapatan nila para ika nga obligahan ang AMLA na ilabas yung mga ganong klaseng dokumento dyan sa pagdinig niyan? Wala. Kaya ngayon, anong aabuti nila? Kaso sa Korte Suprema.
pagka nasa impeachment, if there's an impeachment case na, which is ongoing, which is for me, pagdating sa Senate, that's a time that you could summon all those records.
So, where do you see this going? Will the House Justice Committee exclude the bank documents should there be a finding that there was a violation indeed of the bank secrecy law or data privacy laws?
At the rate that the hearings are being are going, I don't think that they will exclude it. In fact, the bulk of the case is premised on those disclosures ng AMLA, the bank records, and yung I think later on yung BIR, but correctly si Commissioner said that you shouldn't open it.
And kasi hindi naman ata kasama yung BIR din dun sa complaint from the start. Or
Well, actually, kahit dun, if you read the complaint, while there is a mention of yung AMLA records, it was not specified. Which documents from AMLA are you asking? In fact, I also raised it dahil what was presented were records from 2005 until 2022. Covered 19 years.
Yeah,
But
so
an impeachable
even-
officer
yeah.
can only be impeached for illegal actions done during her term of office. She became Vice President 2022. So di ba dapat ang records na ipipresent mo 2022 hanggang present?
yeah. So how are this being handled by the House Justice Committee? Like, offenses that purportedly occurred prior to the Vice President's term as Vice President. So during that time, hindi pa siya impeachable officer. And also issues on evidence now coming out in the House Justice Committee hearings that were not part of the original impeachment complaint.
It was raised by Congressman Rufus Rodriguez during the last hearing. It was also raised by Congressman Pido Garbin. But the evidences were accepted by the committee despite objections being raised or manifestations being made to point out that baka hindi dapat.
Oo. So may mga nagsasabi rin kasi na pagkakataon naman to ni Vice President Sara na sagutin yung mga allegations against her through the proceedings here in the House Justice Committee. Do you think she would have been given an opportunity to be heard? Kasi meron parang ang sentiment naman ng iba, parang most of the members of the House Justice Committee are against Vice President Sara. So would it have been a fair platform?
Well, as we all know, ang impeachment proceedings are heavily political in nature. And from the start pa lang, alam mo na yung mga yung leanings So it depends on I think the legal strategy of the Vice President. Feeling ko yung team niya felt that they would not be able to get a fair hearing doon sa or a chance to really question yung mga evidences being presented against them, because kahit mag-appear sila doon, she cannot cross-examine.
Yun ang limitation. Hindi siya
yung
pwede mag-cross-examine ng witnesses. They'll be
witnesses.
limited to clarificatory questions as well.
Yeah, and the clarificatory questions, hindi pwede niyang ipropound. Kailangan padaanin niya sa chair, and it's up to the chair to
If whether it will be allowed.
if it will be allowed or not. Minsan yung mga clarificatory question, you have to raise it pagkasabi. Pero if you watch the proceedings, mahaba yung mga salita at saka merong madaming nagsasalita. Baka by the time na erase yun, madami ng mga nag-transpire ng mga questions. So I think on the part, I don't know, kasi on the part of yung siguro team ni Vice President, they feel that the opportune time to answer and for the Vice President to be present would be sa Senate, in case it's elevated sa Senate for trial.
And do you think, in your opinion as a lawyer, do you think it would help the Vice President if she attended the House Justice Committee hearings? I believe yung Wednesday would be the last one. Would it help her cause to appear there?
Given the limitations ng maaari niyang gawin, I don't think that it would help her case. But syempre, opinion ko lang yun, and being part of the Justice Committee, being present in the hearings, more or less, alam mo na yung, you have a certain idea on how it will go. So, but that's only based on my opinion, of course.
Based on previous House Justice Committee hearings, it appears that you and Congressman Rufus Rodriguez are the only opposing voices there. How would you address criticisms that you're biased in favor of Vice President Sara Duterte? But before you answer this question, we'll have to take a short break. At the forefront of the
Maganda talaga yan. Forward na ho agad natin.
Welcome back at the forefront. We continue our conversation with Congressman Bong Suntay. Congressman Bong, in the previous House Justice Committee hearings, you and Congressman Rufus Rodriguez appeared to be the lone opposing voices. How would you address criticisms that you're biased in favor of Vice President Sara Duterte?
Well, I think certain critics are cherry-picking because prior to the impeachment proceeding against the Vice President, there was an impeachment proceeding against the President. And if they just listened and watched those proceedings, I was also against impeaching the President. I raised similar points which I raised during the proceedings against the Vice President. Pero during the time naman that I was raising it in defense of the President, no one was saying that, "Uy, you're lawyering for the President." But before the start of yung impeachment proceeding against the Vice President, I raised, the same standards that we used when we appreciated evidences filed against the President. Let's use the same standard dito kay Vice President. Ako, I'm just being consistent.
In 2028, will you run with VP Sara sa party niya?
Well, I don't know. I'm with the NPC, National People's Coalition. So, we don't know. But I'm running with my party, which is
Okay.
NPC.
But based on your observations, as someone who has already observed the impeachment proceedings from your side, like even being part of the House Justice Committee, do you find that this is an effective tool to exact accountability, or para bang nagiging political tool siya? I mean, kasi sa atin, if you have a real case, diba, under the judicial branch, merong mga safeguards to make sure that you don't have a forum where the people who are deciding will be biased against you,
Yeah.
or biased in your favor, di ba? So that's why meron tayong mga motion to inhibit. Ako kasi, I can't help but also remember that during the 2025 midterm election, you have, for example, Congressman Joel Chua, where there were some meeting the advances or campaign sorties where Vice President Sara did speak very publicly against Congressman Joel Chua or even against Chairperson Jervil Luistro na may sinabi pa si Vice President Sara dati na may utang pa sa kanila si Congresswoman Luistro na hindi pa nababayaran. So kung ganun, how can you expect then na walang political considerations when they decide or when they act as members of the House Justice Committee?
Well, for me, I don't think it's an effective way of extracting accountability, as correctly pointed out. May political leanings, political biases which are involved. Now, dito kung makikita mo, parang ang proceeding is, while political, it's also legal eh. You have to present evidence, you have to appreciate evidence. And hindi naman lahat ng members ng Justice Committee a lawyer. And we went to law school and it's a long process. So it's not that easy to appreciate those things unless na, yun nga, papasok mo yung mga biases. So if yung accountability yung gusto natin, parang it's not an efficient way of extracting it, but yan ang that's what's provided under the Constitution and they framed it that way. Siguro yung framers ng Constitution natin at that time, siguro hindi pa ganun kano yung political noise and they thought that they could, legislators, both the House and the Senate, would be more unbiased pagdating sa mga ganitong bagay. But if you observe kung yung nangyari kay Justice Corona, kay Justice Sereno, now what's happening now, parang ako lang, I could conclude na it's not an effective way.
Oo. They always say that every time I try to compare the rules to the rules of court, rules of evidence, they always say, well, the impeachment is a sui generis proceeding. But in my head, iniisip ko, parang sui generis is code for political, very political proceeding. But given what you've observed so far, do you think that this will reach the Senate, the impeachment?
They only need 105 votes. I don't think that they will be able to get a good majority kagaya nung the last time that the impeachment case was filed against VP Sara. Pero yung 105, lagay ko, kayang nakuha yung 105.
So highly likely, aabot talaga to sa Senate.
Yeah,
for the
most
trial.
probably. But with effort. Hindi
effort?
Hindi kagaya dati.
Bakit? Ano nagbago?
Well, in talks within the House members, parang you would feel that some of them are adamant. And going into 2028, which is a national election, you elect a new presidential candidate. So I think madaming concerns na pumapasok, political considerations, what the district feels, kung yung mga voters mo sa district, how do they feel if you impeach the vice president who, as we all know, up now is still very, very popular despite what's happening. So I think some of them are now considering those things. The first time that the impeachment case was filed against the BP, it was prior to the midterm election. And the president still had 3 years left, a full term left. Pero now, papunta siya sa end term eh. And as we all know, political leanings change pagka palapit na yung end term.
Tomorrow, what can we expect from the House Justice Committee hearings? What will you tackle?
More of the same. Siguro pagbobotohan na yung remember yung mga BIR, si BIR Commissioner brought some certain BIR documents, but he placed it in a box and it was sealed. Now, palagay ko ang pagbobotohan nila is whether to open it or not.
Parang ERAP time, merong envelope na kailangan i-open.
Envelope, but para sa akin, is it really needed? Kasi kung optics lang, parang it's not needed and they could let those documents be open pagdating sa Senate. Kasi lagi naman sinasabi, in fact, I think some members of the Justice Committee in certain interviews said they were confident that they already have the numbers. So if you're confident that you already have the numbers, why not elevate it to the Senate? Well, why not throw it to the plenary so that the plenary can vote and it can be elevated sa Senate for the proper trial to proceed.
Sorry, so yung hindi confident sa numbers, it's not being confident with the numbers in the Senate or in the House?
No, when I say they're confident with the numbers that they have, the 100, the minimum
okay. So it was
105
in
votes
the House of
to send it
Representatives.
to the Senate. Oo.
Okay, so let's talk, as we only have a few minutes left, about the oil crisis. Will there be another hearing on the Legislative Energy Action Development or LEAD Council?
Well, I guess it's continuing. Actually, today, now, yung Committee on Transportation is hearing naman yung mga effects and yung mga possible na pwedeng gawin ng government with regards to yung rising fuel cost and its impact on the public transport sector. So I think there will be another hearing, especially with developments. If you notice, bumaba for 2 weeks, bumaba yung presyo ng fuel, and that's because of yung ceasefire which was declared. But parang hindi nag-progress yung negotiations, although in-extend ni President Trump yung ceasefire,
yeah.
but it didn't show an effect dahil for the past 6 days, yung means of plots has been constantly increasing. Now, I think it closed last night at 106.85 per barrel.
So can we expect any more measures in the pipeline from Congress to ease the effects of the Middle East crisis?
Well, if we want to ease the impact, and I have been very vocal on this, the President should decide to suspend the excise tax on fuel. Dahil yung excise tax on fuel, that's an additional 10 pesos per liter on gasoline, 6 pesos per liter on diesel. Ang sabi ko nga, for all this time na tumaas yung fuel cost, nagkaroon na ng windfall ang gobyerno. From
Kasi tumataas
VAT, dahil
din yung VAT.
12% VAT, which is a percentage tax. Dumoble na yung presyo ng fuel. So, ibig sabihin, dumoble yung collection from VAT. It will very well compensate what would be lost if we suspend yung excise. And yun, mararamdaman ng lahat ng tao. You know, I don't subscribe to the opinion na hindi, it should be targeted. Kailangan yung mga public utility vehicles lang, yung mga farm workers lang, fisher folks ang mabenefisyuhan. You know, the middle class also should benefit from it, and the mere poor dahil they also spend on fuel and they're heavily taxed individuals. So, ang nangyayari, pag targeted ayuda, bibigay kayong 5,000, there's difficulty in distributing it. And ang binibigay ko nga ng example, if you give 5,000 pesos to a jeepney driver, so anong gagawin ng jeepney driver sa 5,000? Hindi na lang siya babiyahe. Bakit kamo? Kasi kung biyahe siya,
Hindi niya kailangan
gagamitin niya yung 1,000 pesos pang boundary, 4,000 na lang matitira. Gagamitin niya yung 3,000 pambili ng crudo. So, ang matitira sa kanya is 1,000 pesos na lang. Babiyahe siya, kikita siya ng 2,000. So, 3,000, yung 5,000 niya, 3,000 na lang ang matitira kung biyahe siya. Huwag ka na lang biyahe.
Oo nga naman.
What we need is to put those public utility vehicles back on the streets so that yung mga majority of the Filipino who uses them would have, vehicles to ride on.
Yeah, oo. And then with the rising fuel prices, kahit yung mga cost of goods keep increasing, and it again goes back to everyone who's just, a middle class, and based on your income, yung income mo dati hindi na magkakasya. So, meron ba kaming maasahan na change with the programs that we have right now?
The economic advisors of the president should properly advise him na it wouldn't be a loss on the part of the government. When we approved the GAA, the national budget, it was based on collections on taxes on fuel based on yung 70, an average of 60 pesos. Dumoble na eh. So, ibig sabihin, nag-overshoot na yung collection target mo. So, there's nothing wrong in temporarily suspending it, then you give direct benefit. Hindi pa mahihirapan yung agencies. Kagaya, kita mo ano nangyari doon sa distribution ng DSWD. Di ba may tricycle driver na namatay dahil sa pila? Because it's really difficult na to give those
So dapat
handouts.
a measure that's national. Thank you so much, Congressman Bong Suntay, and thank you also for your legal insights.
Dito sa bahagi ng video natin na to, magtungo na ho tayo sa ating maisog at Vic Rodriguez. Good.
Hapon, Haring Mandarambong,
Yo.
kagaya po ng ating paulit-ulit na sinasabi, bahagi po ng ating advokasya na maiangat ang kaalaman at kamulatan ng sambayanang Pilipino upang hindi na po tayo basta-basta mabudol muli. Pasensya na po kayo, medyo namamalat yung aking boses sapagkat napakainit po sa labas. Kahapon pa, kagaya po ninyo, tayo nagtatrabaho din, nagbabanat ng buto, napakainit po yung labas-masok ka sa malamig, sa aircon na lugar, sa sasakyan na naka-aircon, pagbaba mo napaka-mainit, napaka-maalinsangan, yan po ang idudulot niyan. Marami na rin ho ang nagkakasakit pero mag-iingat po kayo. No? Habang tayo po ay, bago po tayo tumuloy, nais ko lang pong batiin muna yung unang-una ngayong araw, si At Maria Socorro Mejia. Dahil ang request niya, wait na ako dito sa iyo, Attorney Vic. Shout out po sa iyo at mga makakasama natin sa live. Galing po yan kay At Maria Socorro Mejia. Speaking of kasama sa live, base po dito sa aking Magic Eye, maraming salamat sa halos 800 live viewers po natin at higit pong mas marami yung nasa Facebook. Sana po yung nasa Facebook ang aking pong pakiusap, ang aking pong hiling. Sana po i-share ninyo ang every live podcast po natin para hindi po ma-shadow ban, hindi po nila makontrol yung ating pahina. No? Ganun din no, pagbati. Ito po yung last live po natin. Si @moonlit_chick @moonlit_chick ng Navotas City. Maraming salamat. Shout out daw, sabi ni @moonlit_chick. Ganon din si @Maria Fe Villamon ng Indiana, USA. Si @Meray programa
Yo.
Haring Mandarambong, Oplan Save the King. Kagaya po nung last Friday, atin na pong naging kaugalian, labanan natin yung fake news. Speaking of fake news, dahil marami tayong pakikitang video mamaya. Bago po mag-react, yung napakapikon at napaka-reactive na administrasyon ni Bongbong Marcos, pakinggan po ninyo yung Armed Forces of the Philippines 2nd Infantry Division. Iunahin ko lang po ito. Yung AFP 2nd Infantry Division, magsasagawa po sila ng Digital and Social Media Summit. Ganda po yon. Digital and Social Media Summit, pamumunuan po ito ng Armed Forces of the Philippines 2nd Infantry Division. Basahin ko lang po ito, mahaba ito. Si Tito Advincula, maraming salamat po, Attorney Vic, for being part of good governance. Thank you for your genuine help to the people and to eliminate the syndicate group in Congress and Senate, especially the communists who are in the Senate and Congress. Where have you seen a country where the communist frontline is in the Senate and Congress? Dito lang nga po sa Pilipinas yan. Pero kaya kayo ay may tinig maisog. Kaya po ako naririto bilang tinig ninyo. Sisikapin po nating labanan yan. No? Si Supeng Tamayo, work na ako, sayang di ako makapanood ng live. Next time uli po, Senator Attorney Vic Rodriguez, God bless you. Supeng Tamayo, okay lang yan. Habol ka mamaya sa replay. Salamat pa rin. And may God bless you too. Pati si Lydia Dayaw watching from Brunei. So marami rin po salamat muli sa mahigit almost 1,000 live viewers based on my magic eye. Pakiusap ko po uli yung mga nasa YouTube at yung mga nasa Facebook. Sana po ay patuloy kayong maging aktibong bahagi, mag-like, mag-comment, mag-react. Importante po yung pag-share ninyo on both social media platforms, YouTube and Facebook. Pakiusap ko po iyon at kayo po'y sana ay mag-follow at mag-subscribe. No? So, balik po tayo, Haring Mandarambong, Oplan Save the King. Pag-usapan po uli natin, ilagay natin sa tamang konteksto dahil nga po yung binabanggit ko kanina, yung AFP, 2nd Infantry Division, meron po silang isasagawang Digital and Social Media Summit. Bakit ko po naisingit ito? Sapagkat ang kanila pong Digital and Social Media Summit on combating misinformation and on strengthening public trusts. So yung AFP, 2nd Infantry Division, targetin ninyo yung inyong Commander-in-Chief sapagkat siya yung #1 reporter ng fake news.
Correct.
Tanungin nyo sa kanya, BBM, kala ko ba siguradong-sigurado tiyak ka na naaresto si Saldico? Ito po ay bilang tugon doon sa pinalathalang information ng AFP, yung Armed Forces of the Philippines 2nd Infantry Division. Magsasagawa po sila ng Digital and Social Media Summit on combating misinformation and on strengthening public trust. Tanong, AFP, 2nd Infantry Division, iimbitahin nyo ba o imbitado ba yung inyong Commander-in-Chief? Di ba? Para matuwid ninyo yung mga baluktot niyang pagbabalita. Imbitahin nyo ba si Bongbong para matuto siya na hindi na magpalaganap ng maling information? Fake News King. Ang title po natin ngayon, Haring Mandarambong.
Palak pa. Fake. Ibang klase talagang bumalag magtensyon.
Pwede ring hari ng fake
Ibang
news.
klase, oh.
Pwede ring hari ng sablay. Ano ho? So yung Haring Mandarambong, Oplan Save the King. So yan, sinusundan ko lang yung mga linalathala ng mga sangay ng pamahalaan, pati na ng ating kasundaluhan, yung AFP, 2nd Infantry Division, Digital and Social Media Summit on Combating Misinformation and Strengthening Public Trusts. So, tanong, iimbitahin niyo ba si Bongbong? Tuturuan niyo ba yung lukaret sa palasyo, yung lukaret sa Malacanang na napakasinungaling? Inimbita niyo ba yung kalihim ng Department of Justice na nagkakautal-utal na ayaw sabihin yung salitang aresto o napakawalan na o wala na, laya na si Saldico? Hindi po kasi na-establish na talagang arestado. Kagaya po ng sinasabi ko, mainam kung naaresto para ituro na niya all the way hanggang kung sino yung ultimately may pananagutan. Subalit, ibang kwentuhan po pag yung mismong Chief Executive Officer of the land. No? Ibang usapan po pag yung Commander-in-Chief ang nagpapalaganap ng fake news. Hindi ko naman po sila nakakausap, subalit nakita ko po bilang Pilipino, sa tingin ko dapat nating kahit paano pasadahan yung ikinasong bago na naman kay Jay Sonsa at kay Eric Celis. Hindi ko po alam yung buod, pero kung kinasuhan si Jay Sonsa at si Eric Celis, dapat siguraduhin, panagutin din si Bongbong Marcos. Bakit? Fake news din yun na-arestado si Saldico.
Correct.
In fact, hindi lamang fake news, ito po ay maituturing na malisyoso. Bakit? Kinakailangan nila ng pamatay sunog. At habang pinapatay ang sunog, kinakailangan lang lumikha ng mga istorya kahit hindi totoo para pagtakpan ang kanilang malinaw na bulilyaso. Kagaya po ng Haring Mandarambong o Plan Save the King. Ito mga nakaraang araw leading into the weekend at ngayon na naman po, ang tanong, si Saldi, si Tambaloslos o si Cheese? No, ano yung tanong na yan? Sino sa kanilang tatlo ang handang magpakulong upang pagtakpan at aminin ang napakalawak na kurakot at korupsyon at salbahin ang hari ng kasalukuyang administrasyon? Wala po muna tayong conclusion, mamaya po iyon. Antayin ko rin po yung inyong observation kung sino sa tingin ninyo yung Haring Mandarambong at Plan Save the King. Pero nakikita natin, tatlong naglalakihang pangalan na ang ipina-float o lumalabas. Saldico, matagal na yan. Diba, Saldico? Si Tambaloslos o si Martin Romualdez, last week lamang yan. Totoo kaya na nag-aaway-away na sila? Maaring parte ng drama, pero kung titingnan ninyo, aatras ko ng kaunti yung mga lumabas na report, ng mga affidavit, ang tinutumbok tila ay papunta sila kay Cheese Escudero. Yun ang kanilang iipitin. Kaya nga ang tanong ko, sino sa tatlo ang mapalad na magiging scapegoat? Si Saldi, si Tambi o si Cheese? Haring Mandarambong o Plan Save the King? Simulan po natin doon sa BICAM report. Di ba na-discovery natin kasama si Congressman Sid Ungab ng 3rd District ng Davao, aking amigo, nanonood yan. Magandang hapon sa iyo, Congressman Sid Ungab, at ang mga mamamayan ng iyong distrito at ang buong Davao City. Marami pong salamat. So si Saldi, si Tambi o si Cheese, sino yung magiging sobrang giting sa kanila na tatanggapin ang lahat ng sisi, ang lahat ng kurakot at korupsyon upang mailayo lamang ang kinukonsidera o kinikilalang hari ng kurakot at korupsyon ng kasalukuyang administrasyon? No? Yung BICAM report, last year po iyan, noong 2024, na-discovery ho natin, in fact, nandyan pa, nakabinbin pa sa Korte Suprema, na napakaraming blanco. Bungi-bungi. Yung Bicameral Conference Committee report. Aprobado po yun. Pirmado ng Senado, pirmado ng mababang kapulungan, naging gab nga ho yung General Appropriations Bill. At nung naging General Appropriations Bill, na-discovery po namin, bago po yung aking ipapakita, sinong makakalimot ng larawan? Huwag ho natin kalimutan itong larawang ito. Bahagi po ito. Uulit-ulitin po natin.
Yeah.
I will
Pakita
always refresh your recollection and your memory so that you will not be swayed by the fake news and false propaganda na pinapalaganap ng kasalukuyang Bongbong Marcos Jr. administration. So, December of 2024, pinag-aaralan daw masusi ni Bongbong Marcos ang panukalang budget. December na po ito. At makikita nga rito, syempre nandiyan pa rin yung mga kanyang, yung mga players po lahat ng ng korupsyon yan. Tingnan po ninyo. Yung nasa dulo po, ito. Si Adrian Bersamin po yan. No? Kasali po yan. So malawak at
Sa mga nakakalimot to, Adrian Bersamin, siya ho yung kasama ni Trigib na pumipick up ng bilyones sa parking lot ng Diamond Hotel. Maigi nang nagkakaliwanagan ho tayo dito. Maigi nang hindi ho tayo nagkakalimutan dito. Diba? Sila ho yung mga di umanong nagdi-deliver at pumipick up ng pera diyan sa Diamond Hotel.
at laganap na korupsyon. So maraming blanco at napakita po namin sa inyo at ipapakita ko po muli sa inyo
Pakita
na
na yan,
wala
attorney.
pong pirma yung tinatawag na enrolled bill. Ito po yung kopya ng enrolled bill. Bakit po natin kinakailangan ulit-ulitin ito? Sapagkat kinakailangan mag-isip si Saldi, si Tambi o si Cheese. Isa sa kanila ang ihuhulog talaga ang gagawing scapegoat or maaaring silang tatlo. Depende sa tibay na lang ng kanilang pakikipaglaban. Tanong, handa ba silang tatlong magpakulong para lamang maprotektahan ang Haring Mandarambong? Pero ito makikita natin, walang hong pirma yung enrolled bill. Sertipikado po ito ng Legislative Archives and Museum Management Service. Sertipikado po yan. May pirma po yan. So ito, dito, wala hong enrolled bill. Mahalaga po yung enrolled bill para in case of discrepancy with the General Appropriations Act, meron pong basis for comparison. Titingnan mo yung nakafile dito sa Legislative Archives and Museum Management Services, yung kopya po ng enrolled bill. Yung kopya nga po doon hindi pirmado. Ibig sabihin, walang enrolled bill. Ngayon, pag walang enrolled bill, sino ang tumapos ng ating 2025 GAA? Kasi po doon talaga sumabog yung laganap, alamak at malawak na kurakot at korupsyon sa ilalim ng Bongbong Marcos Jr. administration. Ita naman ninyo, nagre-review si Bongbong Marcos. Sinabi niya, wala daw siyang makitang blanco diyan sa General Appropriations Law. Wala talaga dahil ang blanco sa BICAM.
Correct.
Palusot na naman yan. Fake news king nga iyan. Fake news king yan. Kaya dapat yan imbitahin ng 2nd Infantry Division ng AFP sa kanilang gagawing Digital and Social Media Summit on combating misinformation and on strengthening public trusts. Para hindi na siya nagre-report ng mga fake news kagaya ng fake arrest ni Zaldico. Ultimo, yung hepe ng Department of Justice, nagpupumiglas, gumawa ng bagong definisyon ng arestado, ng under detention, ng restricted ang paggalaw. Simple lang naman ang tanong is he under arrest? Is he arrested? Sasabihin pa may technical meaning ang arrest. Alam mo natin yan.
Hindi ginagamit sa Czech Republic yung salitang arrest. Meron pa silang nalalaman pa ganun dyan. Parang yung tipong akala ho nila maluloko nila sa bayan ng Pilipinas. Pambihira talaga.
Pag arestado ka, you are under arrest. You are arrested. You are deprived of freedom of movement. You are deprived of your liberty, whether permanently or temporarily. Or hindi ka talaga na-aresto. Simple lang yung tanong, hindi po niya masagot bakit. Magmumukha po talaga na fake news king yung kanilang pinagsisilbihang Pangulo. So, nung lumabas na po yung pinagsamang sinumpaang salaysay, matatandaan po niyo yun. May kopya pa tayo nun. Si Bernard Tube, yung 16 na Marines, tatandaan niyo, yung 16 na Marines at 2 from the Army, 18 po lahat sila. Yung naglabasan, si Bernard Tube at yung mga kasamahan niya. Pero bago po yan, huwag ninyong kalilimutan si Orly Gutesa. Si Orly Gutesa, yung dating retiradong Marine Sergeant Orly Gutesa. Bago pa, yung 18 sundalo, yung 16 Marines plus 2, 18 po lahat sila, nauna po yung Orly Gutesa. Si Orly Gutesa, sometime September of 2025, lumabas po iyan sa Senado. Yung surprise witness or surprise testimony na linabas ni Orly Gutesa. Sinong makakalimot na yung nagde-deliver sila ng basura basura ng pera. Yung kayamanan ng Pilipinas, basura lang ang tawag ni Saldico at ni Tambaloslos. Ano? Basura ng pera, dinedeliver nila diyan kay Saldico, diyan kay Martin Romualdez, at syempre, nung paglabas ni Orly Gutesa, yung sumabog na itong substandard at ghost flood control projects, sisingilin din natin kasi ang Blue Ribbon. Itong Blue Ribbon, Chairman, laging sinasabi, hindi raw pwedeng ipatawag si Martin dahil daw po sa interparliamentary courtesy. Tingnan mo, pagka sa merong issue ng pandarambong, kurakot at pagnanakaw, katakot-takot na kortesiya ang binibigay ni Ping Lacson. Pero tayong mga taxpayers, kayong mga hirap na nagtatrabaho, yung mga uring manggagawa, malapit na. May 1, araw po nyo yan. Hindi tayo binibigyan ng kortesiya ng isang senador na chairman ng Blue Ribbon. Pero kay Martin Romualdez, todo kortesiya. Dito nyo makikita yung double standard nitong chairman ng Blue Ribbon. At wag nating kalilimutan, hindi ba't si Ping Lacson ang nagpangalan doon sa kongresista, kayong mga taga-Oriental Mindoro, First District ng Oriental Mindoro, on record po ito. Nagbigay ng privilege speech si Ping Lacson at ginamit niyang poster boy ng corruption, poster boy ng ghost flood control projects, at poster boy ng substandard infrastructure projects diyan sa First District ng Oriental Mindoro, si Congressman Arnan Panaligan. Sinulat ko na dahil lagi ko nakakalimutan, wag nating kalimutan. Itong poster boy ng korupsyon at kurakot na ginamit ni Ping Lacson.
Hindi na ho tayo sisegue kasi mas malupit ho magpaliwanag yan si Atty. Vic Rodriguez. Gusto ko manamnam ng ating mga kababayan kung ano yung mga kanyang mga punto de vista dyan sa kanyang video na yan. No, marami ho tayong gustong isingit, segue, kaya ho muna natin para tuloy-tuloy ho yung kanyang, kung yung tinutumbok ng kanyang punto hindi ho maputol.
Congressman Arnan Panaligan, wala pa rin kaso magpahanggang sa ngayon.
Grabe.
Di ba? Kaya ho ba, nung lumabas na si Gutesa, babalikan po natin yung 16+2, yung 18 sundalong lumabas. Nung lumabas na po si Gutesa, nagkabuhol-buhol na rin po sila sa affidavit ni Robert Bernardo. Sinong makakalimot kay Robert Bernardo? Malaki po ang pagkakautang ng taong ito sa mamamayang Pilipino. Hanggang sa ngayon, hindi pa ho ito nagsosoli nung bahagi ng kanyang kondisyon para siya'y tanggapin sa Witness Protection Program. Ano po yung kanyang pangako? Kinakailangan po siyang magsoli ng 1 billion pesos now. Hindi nga po now nung isang buwan pa yata o 2 buwan pa. 2 months, 3 months ago, meron po siyang undertaking na magsosoli ng 1
Akin ko na ho kayong bibitinin dyan sa mga napakalupit na punto de vista na yan itong si Atty. Vic Rodriguez. Nasa na ho tayo? Nasa 30-minute mark na ho tayo ng video niya na to. Kung gusto nyo hong ituloy yan, punta ho kayo sa Tinig Maisog at mag-subscribe na rin ho kayo dyan sa YouTube channel na yan itong si Atty. Vic Rodriguez. As always, maraming salamat ho sa pag-support sa PH Update. Mag-ingat ho kayo lahat. Mahal natin Pilipinas.